This is CBS7 First Alert News at 9, with live reports from your First Alert election station.
Good evening and thanks for joining us on this Super Tuesday. I'm Lauren Munt with your First Alert election news. In the Midland County Sheriff's race, Sheriff David Kreiner is running for re-election against Justin Painter and Rory McKinney. David Kreiner is leading that race right now by 51%. In the Midland County Commissioner Precinct 1, Charlie Hall and Terry Luck. That race, we've got Charlie Hall winning 64% to Terry Luck's 36%. And in the Midland County District Attorney race, Kyle A. McCardle and Glenn Hardwood. Glenn Hardwood has taken the lead at 68% to McCardle's 32%. Turning now to Ector County. For Ector County Commissioner Precinct 1, incumbent Mike Gardner is leading the race at 54% to Linda Young's 22%. Ector County Commissioner Precinct 3, Samantha Russell and Donald Stringer. Samantha Russell is leading 51% to Donald Stringer's 49%. And the Ector County Republican chair was also on today's ballot. Current reports show that Tisha Crow, Donna Kelm, and there was some controversy surrounding this race in February. Donna Kelm was involved in an alleged assault at the Ector County Annex. For more on that story, you can visit our website, CBS7.com. Again, right now, that race is still going. And we're looking now at voting across Texas in the Republican presidential race. Donald Trump has won the nomination against 9 other candidates, including Nikki Haley. And President Joe Biden has won the Texas Democratic primary race for president against 7 other candidates. The primaries for presidents were both called at around 8:30. And in some state election results, out of 5 candidates running for the Republican Railroad Commissioner, Christy Craddock is leading the vote. In that race is also Christy Clark, Corey Howell, Jim Matlock, and Petra Reyes. In the Democratic Railroad Commissioner, Bill Birch, Catherine Colbert. Catherine Colbert is winning that race, 66% to Bill Birch's 34%. Across West Texas, the Martin, Midland, Pecos, Reeves, and Ward County sheriffs are all running in primary races. There are also county commissioners races in these counties: Andrews, Brewsters, Crane, Ector, Glasscock, Martin, Midland, Pecos, Presidio, Reeves, and Ward. And don't forget to download the CBS7 First Alert News app to keep up to date with the latest election results. You can go to CBS7.com, where we've got a full list of primary races in West Texas counties. And the polls have closed in a couple of states with Super Tuesday contests, but they remain open in many other states holding primaries today. More than 1/3 of the delegates are up for grabs as voters cast their ballots for who they want to be the Democratic and Republican nominees for president. Danya Bacchus reports from California.
CBS News projects former President Donald Trump has picked up early wins in a handful of states for the Republican nomination, while President Biden has won races on the Democratic side.
Joe Biden better win, all right? I mean, I think the country, there's an awful lot at stake.
And if I can speak directly to President Trump, I wish he would tone his comments down on his political opponents. We want you to run the country. We want you to be effective. He has great policies.
Voters in more than a dozen states cast their ballots, with more than 1/3 of delegates up for grabs. While Trump and Biden are clear frontrunners, neither can clinch the nomination this Super Tuesday. CBS News exit polls show immigration and the economy are the top issues on Republican voters' minds.
I'm going to vote for anybody who says they're closing the border.
Nikki Haley, Trump's remaining Republican challenger, has said her goal is to remain competitive on Super Tuesday, but she's been vague about what that looks like.
I'm a Democrat. I will be voting for Joe Biden in the general election, but I put in a vote for Nikki Haley today.
Some Democrats chose not to vote for Biden to protest his handling of the Israel-Hamas war.
I voted uncommitted because I want to send a message that we are tired and we want a ceasefire.
CBS News exit polling shows President Biden's support among key Democratic groups is not at the same levels as 2020.
And while the main focus is on Super Tuesday, the Iowa Democratic Party announced today that President Biden has won its Iowa Democratic Presidential Caucus, claiming all 40 of the state's delegates. And a new report found that China, Russia, Iran, and Cuba all tried to meddle in the 2022 U.S. midterm elections. According to a declassified assessment, foreign government efforts to target the elections last year appeared to grow compared to 2018. The intelligence community assessed with high confidence that China tried to influence a handful of midterm races involving members of both U.S. political parties. It adds that Russia sought to denigrate the Democratic Party before the midterm elections. The assessment detailed that Iran's influence sought to exploit perceived social divisions and undermined confidence in U.S. democratic institutions, while it found that Cuba engaged in more narrow efforts to support or undermine specific candidates. And the State of the Union is happening on Thursday night, and the CBS7 news team will be in Washington, D.C. to listen to President Joe Biden's speech and get reactions from lawmakers on Capitol Hill. R.J. Hendricks and Matthew Alvarez are headed to the Capitol tomorrow. Stay with CBS7 First Alert News as we bring you coverage from the State of the Union. And we're going to talk your weather forecast now with Chief Meteorologist Tom Tieferteller. Tom, it was a beautiful day to get out and vote.
It was a good one out there today, and it looks like more of that's in the forecast coming up for tomorrow. High temperatures today running 10 to 15 degrees above where they should be this time of the year, into the mid to upper 70s out there this afternoon. The hot spots, well, Dryden got up to 83, close to 90 down towards Rio Grande Village a little bit earlier today. Tall City skyline, nice evening. A couple of high clouds out there, temperatures into the mid 60s across the area. Upper 50s around Fort Davis, as we are looking at just a touch of wind out there, but not too, to deal with out there across the area. Here's a look at the forecast temperature trend here over the next few days. We are going to see those temperatures start to drop off quite a bit coming up Friday into Saturday, as those temperatures again will be cooling off behind a cold front arriving for the start of the weekend.
Thank you, Tom. Turning now to some local crime news. A Midland County jury has sentenced 39-year-old Sergio Serna from Pecos to 2 life sentences today and 2 $10,000 fines. He was found guilty of both murder and tampering with a human corpse. Experts testified in court that the victim's body had been burned so badly that it was impossible to determine the cause and manner of her death, but evidence showed that Serna sent her text messages threatening to burn her. Serna has prior felony convictions and will not be eligible for parole for another 30 years. And across Texas, Governor Abbott held a press conference about the wildfires that continue to devastate communities across the state. It's the largest fire in the Texas history, and many people have lost everything, including their homes and farms. Abbott says that there's a task force that will help with restoration efforts, and he also emphasized the importance of helping victims, which includes finding ways to donate hay, a necessary resource for the cattle throughout the region.
And let me just say thank you in advance to everybody across the state and across the country who is willing to step up and help out with making a donation at this website location, so that you're going to be able to help these families be able to rebuild as quickly as possible.
Abbott also praised the firefighters' response and said that there would be far more damage without their hard work. The fires have burned over 1 million acres of land and are not fully contained yet. And the Supreme Court has temporarily blocked a tough new immigration law from taking effect today. That law gives state officials the power to arrest migrants who cross into Texas illegally. The Biden administration argues that it is the federal government's job. Illegal crossings at the southern border hit a record high last year. Omar Villafranca reports on the enforcement shutdown between Texas and federal officials.
The goal of Senate Bill 4 is to stop the tidal wave of illegal entry into Texas.
That was Texas Governor Greg Abbott in December as he signed SB 4 into law. The bill, which was set to go into effect today, would allow state law enforcement to arrest migrants for illegal border crossings and Texas judges to order migrants to either return to Mexico or serve jail time.
We're not imposing a Texas border policy. Texas very simply is enforcing the laws that are the policy of the United States Congress.
In a recent interview with 60 Minutes, Abbott insisted SB 4 does not overstep the federal government. But last week, a Texas district judge blocked the law, arguing that it violates the Constitution's Supremacy Clause and conflicts with key provisions of federal immigration law. Texas's Attorney General appealed the ruling, and over the weekend, a federal court granted the state a temporary stay. And Monday, at the Justice Department's urging, the Supreme Court stepped in to stop SB 4 from taking effect, with Justice Samuel Alito giving Texas until March 11th to file a response.
We need a lot of help.
Back in December, we met Maverick County Sheriff Tom Schmerber in Eagle Pass, 2 days after Abbott signed SB 4 into law. Schmerber told us he was concerned about enforcing it. Is that work that your sheriff deputies can do? Do you want to do it?
We don't want to do it, and it's going to be impossible. I don't have the manpower nor the space. Comes March, if we have to do it, I don't know how.
Omar Villafranca, CBS News.
Still ahead, Spectrum of Solutions unveiled its new $7 million expansion and renovation. We've got a look at the new facility next on CBS7 News at 9 on the CW. In honor of 65 years of helping individuals with disabilities live full and meaningful lives, Spectrum of Solution announced the completion of their $7 million expansion and renovation. It first broke ground in 2019, and today, the 16,000 square foot building is finally finished. Formerly known as MARC, Spectrum of Solutions was founded in 1959 as a daycare for children with disabilities, and since then has become so much more.
It's not an organization that seeks to help people in isolation. It enriches Midland, it enriches our community to have people of differing abilities working and playing and going to church and seeing people at the store who are not exactly the same as we are.
With a growing population in the Permian Basin, that also means there will be a growing population within the community for individuals with disabilities. That's why Spectrum of Solutions has plans to continue renovating their entire facility.
You know how when you clean your room and you clean your closet first, and then you look at the bathroom down the hall and think, wow, that could really be better.
Spectrum of Solutions always appreciates donations and volunteers to help jumpstart their next chapter. For more information on how you can get involved, visit our website, CBS7.com.
Another very nice day across West Texas. Is more of it in the forecast? And what about this next cold front we keep talking about? We have all those forecast detail for you coming up next.
Now, from the CBS7 First Alert Weather Center, here's Chief Meteorologist Tom Tiefertiller.
Well, it has been a tranquil evening out there. Let's take a look at current temperatures under the clearing skies. Even the high clouds are moving out and temperatures are cooling off into the mid 60s as we enjoyed some great temperatures today. A little chillier down in the mountain areas already and starting to cool off down towards Rio Grande Village and Panther Junction, where they saw temperatures into the 80s this afternoon. West to east flow in the upper levels, keeping things relatively nice, but looking back to the west, we have a little kink right in here, a little trough starting to set up, and this is going to buckle that jet stream a little bit more, push a cold front through finally later this week, and that's going to bring some chillier conditions. As a general reminder, it's still the winter season out there, but right now across the state of Texas, the front got a little active with a couple of thunder showers around the Dallas-Fort Worth area down towards Rockwall. But back in West Texas, though, we've been dealing with off and on high clouds across the area, really about it out there as temperatures again, well, they're trying to cool off a little bit. That front is starting to slump down across portions of the into the northern Permian Basin now, and it looks like that is going to continue to affect our weather a little bit here over the next couple of days. That combined with this dry line where everything lines up, we'll be looking at the possibility of an isolated thunderstorm or two in the forecast coming up for the next couple of days. Off to the east, though, of the Permian Basin, really. Across the state, you saw the effects of that front a little bit. 80 in Dallas-Fort Worth in comparison to the low 90s, Austin, San Antonio, and over towards Del Rio. Again, so we didn't fare all that bad with 76 degrees. Temperatures about 10 degrees above where they should be this time of the year. West Texas Futurecast showing pretty quiet conditions overnight tonight, as we'll have plenty of high clouds moving across the area. Those isolated showers and thunderstorms try to get going along that front tomorrow afternoon into the evening hours, but really staying east of the area. Really don't see too much happening until maybe as that front finally whips through the area. Coming up late on Thursday, we'll be looking at a few isolated thunderstorms in the forecast, but nothing doing tonight, just chilly conditions and a few high clouds as we'll drop down into the mid 40s out there, mid 70s tomorrow. And your CBS7 First Alert exclusive 10-day forecast changes on the way late Thursday into Friday with that front finally pushing through with some breezy conditions and cooler temperatures to start the weekend.
Breaking news now, we have the early final numbers for the Midland County Sheriff's race. Sheriff David Kreiner has won his race for re-election. Kreiner, 51% of the vote with 7,550 votes. Rory McKinney had 34% of the votes with 5,003 votes. And Justin Painter had 15% with 2,218 votes. And still ahead, a critical compromise could prevent a partial government shutdown as another funding deadline looms. We've got the details on that compromise next in your political news on CBS7 News at 9. For the second time in as many weeks, lawmakers are scrambling to avoid a partial shutdown as another funding deadline looms. After months of averting shutdowns at the 11th hour with stopgap bills over the weekend, negotiators may finally have reached a critical compromise. Mike Valerio tells us about the major breakthrough.
On the heels of yet another short-term funding deal to keep the government open,
a shutdown is a loser for the American people.
Finally, a breakthrough on Capitol Hill. Top lawmakers unveiling a slate of 6 bipartisan appropriations bills Sunday evening that will avert another looming shutdown while delivering necessary funds to government agencies and departments, including military and veterans affairs, agriculture, commerce, transportation, energy, and housing, among others. Both sides touting big wins. Democratic Senator Patty Murray says the package fully funds the WIC program, which provides nutrition assistance to women and children, while Republican House Speaker Mike Johnson celebrated some conservative victories, including cuts to agencies like the FBI and EPA. The package also includes important investments in hiring new air traffic controllers and rail safety inspectors, and funds veteran health benefits. But even as the two parties come together to keep the government operational, the funding feud isn't over. Lawmakers still need to address their impasse over border security and critical aid to Ukraine, Israel, and Gaza after bipartisan legislation failed to pass last month.
We're getting the government funding done, and then we're going to turn to these other priorities. We can walk and chew gum at the same time.
Lawmakers have until March 22nd to pass the deal and keep the government funded for the rest of the fiscal year. I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
In your social media news, Meta platforms, including Facebook and Instagram, were down for thousands of users this morning. According to an outage tracker, at least 500,000 Facebook users reported issues accessing the site. Some users found that they had been logged out of their Facebook accounts, and others got notifications on Instagram that something went wrong and their feeds wouldn't load. Threads and Facebook Messenger also went down. All the social media sites are back up and running. Meta has yet to give an explanation. And remember when Elon Musk took over Twitter and immediately fired its key executives last year? Well, now they're suing him. The company's former CEO, CFO, and chief legal officer say that Musk owes them more than $128 million in severance. That money was never paid because Musk claimed that they were fired for gross negligence and willful misconduct. But they say he has no proof of any of that. The lawsuit alleges that Musk is trying to bilk them out of that money as a form of revenge. Still ahead, we have a final look at your First Alert weather forecast and more next on CBS 7 News at 9. All right, Tom, before we go, many buyers are frustrated with shrinking products and higher prices, including me. But now even Cookie Monster is fed up. In a post on social media, the Sesame Street character said, "Me hate shrinkflation. Me cookies are getting smaller." And he might be onto something. The Labor Department data shows that some Oreos have decreased 6% in size by weight. And a report from Glassdoor shows the price of cookies has risen more than 28% since the start of the pandemic.
Yes, and best example, Pop-Tarts.
Pop-Tarts are getting smaller?
They have shrunk those, but they didn't shrink the package.
Goodness. Oh,
and so it is noticeable, okay? Check that out, I promise you.
Lay's chips where you get a big package.
Anyway, though, for the weather, well, we're going to see some nice temperatures hang around in our forecast. Want a little bit of that winter chill? Well, it's going to be back in our forecast coming up later this week. Stronger cold front arriving, it looks like late Thursday into Friday.
All right, thanks for watching CBS 7 News at 9 on the CW. We've got more news and your election results coming up tonight on CBS 7 News at 10.